Today we have a very special guest. His name is Pat Hilton. He is the man. He runs a media company, but he's also an MC for a lot of big events. And I wanted to share his story to inspire the new entrepreneurs out there who are trying to just make it in general. So, Pat, before I get into your origin story, could you give just a brief overview of everything you do today?
Of everything I do. So I am a live entertainer. I've been doing that since I was a kid, since I was in high school, way back when dinosaurs roamed the earth, and still living the dream today, still doing it at the biggest level that I possibly can, which is beautiful. And I run a media agency. So we do everything from TV commercials to podcast production to social media management and a lot of stuff in between. So it's a beautiful thing. I'm doing everything I ever wanted to do, as a teenager, and I turned 40 years old in 6 days on the 15th of February. So
15th
out there, like you said, if you're new and you're trying to make it, you got to stick with it. You guys have so much opportunity, so many tools that we didn't have back in the day. And so utilize it and win.
I love that. I love that. So before even the media stuff or the live entertainment, I know you said you're doing that for a while, but what was the first step into entrepreneurship in general? I know you were a music guy. Like, was there anything with that, or what was the start?
Yeah, it was all music. Everything I wanted to do since I was a kid was just like be a rock star. I mean, we grew up in a day and age where there was no YouTube, there was no Instagram, there was no Facebook. It was MTV, it was the record store, and it was the radio. So MTV was video. Like that was like our Facebook and our YouTube and our Twitter and everything. If you were on MTV, it was the biggest thing on the planet. If you played the Super Bowl halftime show, you were the best of the best of the best. And if your song was on the radio, you were the best of the best. And I mean, that was pretty much what it was is, Van Halen posters on the wall and Muhammad Ali and Michael Jordan posters on the wall. And we wanted to be icons in whatever we wanted to do. I had friends that wanted to be Major League Baseball players. One of them actually made it and actually won a World Series with the St. Louis Cardinals. His name's David Freese. So David Freese smashed a home run in Game 6, like bottom of the 12th or whatever, and the Cardinals actually saved the Cardinals and they won the World Series in Game 7. So like I grew up, we all wanted to be top of the line. I went to band class in grade school, and I just wanted to play music. It was the one place where I felt like my creativity, my energy, my little zone of genius was respected. And my teachers always encouraged me to go after it and stick with it. And it was big for me, dude. Band class as a kid, like that was the one place where like I was told that I could succeed.
Wow. So from there, from you understanding that, you're good at this music thing and you're getting actually encouragement, which is actually not a lot of people do for the things that they like when they're young.
Right.
But what was the first step with that?
So
entrepreneurship.
Yeah. So I started learning how to like read music and play music by ear. So like I could play Star Wars with no music by the time I was like 5th or 6th grade. And so,
oh, you're kidding.
Yeah. So apparently that was a big deal because I was a trumpet player. And so the trumpet is the main part of any symphony ensemble. If you listen to all the major theme songs like Rocky Balboa or Superman or Star Wars or Jurassic Park, the main line is always the trumpet part. And so when I signed up and I was going to do trumpet, I was like, it's only 3 buttons. It can't be that hard. Well, I was totally wrong. Trumpet is the hardest instrument because it's the one that everyone hears the most. So you can't hide your part. You're the lead. And I think that was really cool because I was playing advanced parts at a young age. My teacher, Mr. Varley, I'll never forget him, was always very encouraging. And he was like, man, you can turn this into something because, music, and I don't know if anyone knows this. I know it now because he told me, like math and science are one part of the brain, and like English and composition and grammar and writing are on another side of the brain. And so music is one of those activities that actually combines both sides of the brain because you're forced to use the English and composition and reading side to read the music, but the math and science side to put it together with your hands and actually perform. And you're doing both of those things at the same time. So when you see a drummer and he's got all like 4, like he's got his feet moving and his hands moving, like, dude, it's a lot going on. And so I thought that was interesting. And so when it came to entrepreneurship, like I wanted to play my own stuff and get paid for it. And so I'm like, well, what do I need to do? And so we wrote songs. We created a high school band. We had a female lead singer, a couple other guys from another high school, a couple other dudes from another high school, and we played music. We opened for some pretty big bands. No Doubt was a pretty big band. You ever heard of No Doubt?
I haven't personally, but I'm a lot younger, so I don't know.
Hold up. But have you ever heard of Gwen Stefani?
Oh, yeah.
So Gwen Stefani was the singer for No Doubt.
Wow.
There you go. So you guys like dinosaurs? You got one. So yeah, Gwen Stefani is the singer for No Doubt. So we opened for her in like 1998 as a band. We wrote all our own music. We recorded our own records. And then that's what I started doing as an acoustic performer. So I started playing acoustic guitar, and that's where I came up with that persona, the Acoustic Force, because I used to play power chords real hard in bar corners. And I mean, that's kind of where it got tough because I wanted to be an entertainer, but I had to get a job if I wanted my dad to pay for my college. So at like 18, when I graduated high school and like the band kind of fizzled out and I was doing my own thing, I moved to Arizona. I'm doing my own thing, graduated school. It was like a 12-month program. So it was like a trade school kind of deal. So it's called the Conservatory of Recording Arts and Sciences. They're still there, multiple campuses. And this was a big gamble for my dad. Guys, my dad is a very traditional accountant from St. Louis, Missouri. So like sending your kid to Phoenix for like a 12-month program, there's no master's degree, there's no nothing, very alternative for him, but he put his money on it. I got a job in Las Vegas. I worked off of Valley View. I worked at Production Resource Group. And we did Elton John and Aerosmith and Tom Petty. And I was a production manager at like 20 years old. So I thought I was pretty cool. I was smoking it up with some big time rock stars and, drinking some booze and feeling like I owned the world. And I quit that job and went full time as an acoustic performer. And I played bar corners for about 15 straight years, making very little money till I was 35 years old. And then I made a funny song for Grant Cardone on Instagram, and he hired me to come perform at 10X Growth Conference back in Las Vegas. And I performed in front of 10,000 people. And that was where everything that you see me doing at business events started to happen.
Wow. So what I want to just point out there, you said 15 years.
20 to 35, like straight up, like 7 nights a week, driving around in my van. I slept on floors. I slept in the van. I was playing in Denver, Colorado, and my van had no heat. I remember sleeping behind the music venue that night. I made like $150. I'm like 28 or 29 years old, but this was my dream. This was what I wanted to do. And I'm not a real big, beater of the book, the holy book. But I will tell you, I felt called, right? I felt called to do this. And so I just kept sticking with it. I'd say my prayers would be like, dude, why am I going through this struggle to get in front of people? Like I'm so good at what I do and I can't catch a break. And it was like, the voice upstairs was just like, keep going. You're not going to be any good unless you put in this time now. And so that's why I think when people see me so excited at 8:00 in the morning at a business conference, I don't think they realize I was willing to die to get these gigs.
Yeah.
When people like Ryan and Brian Davila put me on, like, dude, I am so grateful. And I want people in that audience to not only have fun, but to like feel it. Like they got to walk away and be like, dude, I got something in here. Because if that guy can make it, dude, anybody can make it.
Yeah. And that honestly separates you from a lot of people. Because what I always tell people is if you don't go through the initial struggles and then you just hit success without any of the struggle, it's not as fun. Even the things that I'm doing now, and I see like if I'm in the process of moving houses right now, and I was like eating a meal that I used to eat that was like super budget friendly, super healthy. And I was like, wow, I remember I had to eat this. And it makes you appreciate everything. So dude, that's nuts. So I know you said you felt like it was a calling, the music. But walk me through that journey, because I don't want to gloss over that, the struggle of that. I think there's a lot of people out there, no matter what industry they're in, where they're really struggling and they don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. So how did you even, first off, there's two parts to this. One, I wanted to walk through, like, what was your life exactly like during those 15 years? You said you were sleeping in your van. Was there a family at the time? Was it just you? Or like, walk me through the struggle. I want to hear everything.
So through that time, I was pretty much single from like the time I was 20 until I was like 30. My wife's in the other room. If I screw this number up, she's going to peek her head in. But I mean, it was like 10 straight years I was pretty much single. So like from like 20 years old to 30 years old, like I just traveled around in my van and played gigs with my guitar all over the country. Her and I were actually looking at videos from like 2007 in like nowhere, Oklahoma. And I had the big, long, curly hair. And you know what I mean? I'm playing my acoustic guitar. There were like 8 people in the room. And I mean, I was willing to play just as hard then as I do when there's 800 or 1,000 people in the room now. And so I could always see those people there, whether they were there or not. And so I guess one of the big pieces of advice I could give people, if you want to be a performer, performance and entertainment is now part of people's business model. It's part of the reason why you and I kind of vibe, is because you're constantly entertaining your audience, giving them tips and topics. You're very good at that. I enjoy what you do, but you're utilizing that entertainment aspect to put yourself in front of an audience. And so you've got to kind of see that audience and see that feedback and feel that vibe before they do, because energy is everything, man. Right. So like the energy that I was putting out, even if I was broke through those years, like, dude, I just played as hard as I possibly could. And that's part of the reason why it worked. And people wanted me to come back, is because I was just a hardworking dude. I wouldn't consider myself the best guitar player. I wouldn't consider myself the best singer, but I could do them both at the same time. I could do them really well. And I could play for 3 or 4 hours. So I was always getting booked. And so if you're 20 or 21 years old right now and you're thinking, you know, I got these big dreams, I would strongly ask yourself, are you willing to put in 10 years barely making any money to get to a point where you're finally paying the bills, doing what you love to do? Or are you one of the Kiyosaki or most entrepreneur people that'll just tell you, don't chase your passion? Because I tell you, I see those videos and they break my heart. People that are like, don't chase your dreams. Don't chase your passion. Dan Locke says it. Robert Kiyosaki says it. Even my buddy Brad Lee is like, dude, the passion thing, you got to make a decision. But like, are you really going to be successful at something that you're not passionate about? Has anyone seen that Steve Jobs interview or talk where he's like, if you don't love what you do, how could you possibly be great at it? Because if you don't love it, you're eventually going to quit if it doesn't work out fast. So if you're 20 or 21 and you're like, I want to be a YouTuber, I want to be an influencer, I want to be a wealthy investor, or I want to be any of these things, I think with coaching and with the people that are around you, you can probably do it a lot faster than anyone in history. So don't take what I'm telling you as liquid gold or audio gold here. I don't want it to take you that long. I want you to do it in 2 or 3 years. That's why I come and I tell these stories. But I would also ask yourself, like, am I willing to put in 10 years to become a multimillionaire at real estate? Am I willing to put in 10 years to become Mr. Beast? Am I willing to put in 10 years to become Jake Paul or Floyd Mayweather or whoever your guy on the wall is? I don't know who your guy on the wall is, but there's somebody there that you want to be like. And it's, by the way, it's okay to look at what other people are doing and get better. People that are like, oh, you shouldn't judge yourself, blah, 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 blah. It's like, you might want to start comparing yourself to the best people in the game if that's what you want to be.
100%. Yeah, it's funny. People are like, no, don't compare yourself to people. It's like, well, maybe you should if you want to bring that competitive drive out of yourself.
I think you should. It doesn't mean that you have to be that. Like, dude,
Sure.
like Ryan or Cardone or Carlos Reyes or any of those people, I take a lot of different things from all those guys. I integrate it into my style. But I mean, you better be looking at the people that are the top dogs in your mind in certain categories and apply those things because it clearly works.
Right. One thing you said earlier really resonated with me because it's so true. It was no matter how broke you were, how little money you were making, you always had that energy. So probably no one could even tell. No one would know like the situation you're in just when they first meet you or when you perform.
Right.
And it resonated with me because I know that feeling. I know the feeling of, man, the times are tough. Even today when things get tough, it's like, man, but you don't show it. You have the good energy because you know energy attracts certain people and you want to keep up who you are. So that one really resonated with me. So, okay, you've gone through this hard period of time, that the 15 years of doing the gigs and nothing of big amounts had happened until you said you made a video for Grant Cardone. Now, was this just like an Instagram or a TikTok or a social media video that you did for free? Like, what was that? Like, how'd that start?
So what started to happen was I got to like 32, 33 years old, and my wife, my girlfriend and I had gotten engaged and then married, and I actually lived in San Diego at the time, and I was playing all along the coast at all these different bars 6-7 nights a week, sometimes 2 times a day. She was working at a preschool in the La Jolla area, Del Mar area, so we like lived in a pretty nice area, but we weren't making any money. We were riding on this thing working out. And I had gotten pretty good by that point, you know, because I had been doing it for so many hours every single day. You know, the whole 10,000 rule is true. You put in enough time, you will get so good at what you do that it will be undeniable that you are the choice. And this is something to think about. You young guys that want this big money and you want the fast cars and, you know, you want, I don't know, the bottle service and the hot girls and the million followers. Dude, go for it, dude. There's nothing wrong with any of those things, but you got to have the experience and you got to have the consistency and you got to have the results to back it up, or that stuff's not going to come. And that takes time, effort, and work. Whether you have the best mentors on the planet or not, if you're not going to do the work, Ryan Pineda is not going to be able to just make you successful. He can give you all the tools. He can give you all the ideas and the platforms and what he did wrong. But if you don't do it right, you're not going to get there. And so I think it came to a point where I had been doing it so long, I can literally, like, if my guitar was sitting here, I can just pick up a guitar and just make a song about anything, because I had done it for so many years. So Grant Cardone made a post on social media. Hey, you know, if you're an artist or a rapper or a poster maker, whatever, Instagram keeps shutting me down and Facebook keeps shutting down my streams. I need to get verified because there's all these fake accounts. Somebody make me a song or whatever. And I was like, oh, dude, this is it. So I cranked out this hilarious Uncle G verified on IG song, and I sent it to him. I sent it to him like 60 times, and he wasn't responding. And I'm like, should I send it to his wife? That's kind of creepy, right? Whatever. Send it to her. So I sent the video to Elena, and she messaged me back in like 10 seconds. I was like, oh my God, this is so hilarious. 10X, you're so awesome. I love the hat. And I'm like, dude, what do you need? Like, let's post it. Dude, again, dinosaur era. This is way before the collab feature was. Right. And this was in the horizontal days with like the timer bar. You know what I mean? Timer bar. Like, I felt pretty slick with the timer bar, people. So sent her the video. Grant posted it and it went bonkers on his page. And so then I just kept making them. I just kept sending him songs and he kept posting them and posting them and posting them. And I'm like, dude, what do I need to do to play at 10X GrowthCon on the lunch break? Now, here's a key for you young bucks that need experience. Remember, we talked about getting the experience and getting the validation and all this and being so good, you know, you can deliver. All I needed was 10 minutes. I didn't need a 45-minute slot, just 10 minutes when nothing's going on. So you got to find your hole. right? Another dinosaur, a dinosaur one for you. In Star Wars, there's like this little 2-meter hole, and they got to drop the proton torpedoes into the hole. And if you get them into the whole place blows up. But if you're a little bit too soon or a little bit too late, you lose. Fight's over. You ain't going to save the galaxy. So you got to know how to get your stuff right into that thing at the right time, at the right place. And you have to anticipate this kind of stuff. I knew people needed my service. I knew people needed this kind of media and this kind of entertainment at conferences. I just needed to find the right time, the right angle, and the right position to take that shot. And so when Jeff said, hey, you know, let's make it happen. So to get him to say yes, and here's another one about being willing to die to win. So I got bounced around his office from a bunch of people, and no one was telling me no, but I wasn't getting a yes from him. And so literally I'm like talking to my wife. We had a baby on the way. This is now 2017. So I graduated high school in 01, went to the school I told you guys about in like 02, came back, moved back home to St. Louis in like 04, and traveled all the way until like 2017. And, you know, now I'm singing in bars, and I got an opportunity. The guy who, in my opinion, at this time, a lot of people didn't know who he was, but I'm like, this guy's going to be the biggest guy in the next 5 years. He's going to be the king of entrepreneur business events. And so an ad came up on my Facebook. I literally prayed this night that they were sharing all my stuff. And I'm like, they're not telling me no. I know that this is the opportunity. Lord, please send me a sign, and I will do the work, and I'll get the job done. And I'm telling you, no joke, people, the next morning, an ad came up on my Facebook that said Elena Cardone is speaking in Las Vegas at the Hard Rock at the Thrive Conference. My pregnant wife and I drove to this event. We had no money. We broke into the event, past security, and closed him in the hallway face to face. And I played at that 10X event.
That's awesome. There's a lot of things I want to touch on. I got the
deal done, dude.
Dude, I'm so happy for you right where you are now, because I understand now how much work it really took, and faith. There's a lot of things I want to touch on. The first thing is, when you first saw Grant posting, hey, I need someone to make, you know, music for me or stuff like this, your first initial thought when you said was, oh, this is the moment. This is it. That's faith. That's faith, and that's confidence in yourself. One, from just doing what you've been doing for so long, because you have faith in yourself. But no, too many people, and I see this with students, because I coach, you know, real estate students and stuff like that. But I see whenever you tell someone something, that you can do something, their first thoughts is, what if this doesn't work out?
Right.
There's some people like that. I've never thought that. If I hear something like, oh, I'm gonna crush this. I'm gonna do this. What you had right there is what a lot more entrepreneurs need. It's faith. They need faith in themselves. The second thing is, you said when you first made the initial video for Grant, you sent it to him like 60 times, and then you sent it to his wife.
Yep.
And I applaud you for that, because that's probably exactly what I would have done.
Dude, it's what you got to do, man.
Yeah. And it's persistence. It's persistence. And too many times people will try something one time. They'll send one message. That didn't work. It's like, no one probably even saw it. Mm-hmm. And then you went to the wife, which is probably an even better way, because I know if someone reached out to my girlfriend and they sent a good video of me, like, it would get to me, because my message inbox is just always full. So like, right. I don't even, so yeah, it was faith and a persistence. And once you saw success of just like, hey, he likes this, you really wanted to capitalize, and you did. That's the first thought you had. It's like, oh, let me just send him videos. Let's do it for free. You brought the value. And that's what people are missing these days, is they want all the good stuff without having to sacrifice or bring the value. And then even further, you pushed it even, probably because time's necessary. You're having a baby on the way.
The countdown was on, dude. The countdown was on. And I knew I needed that deal. That was the deal.
Yeah. And you went for it. You got into the event, and you seeked him out in person. So dude, that's an awesome story right there. I had no idea, but that you went through a lot to even get there. So I mean, you deserve everything that's happened so far, man. I love that story.
Yeah, and the coolest part about that was when he told me, "Yeah, you got the deal, you got the gig." Him and Elena were kind of like looked at each other, and I remember it specifically because I messaged her and said, we're in Vegas. Can I meet with Grant? And she kind of tipped me off as to where they would be at the hotel. And I told her, here's my wife. She's pregnant, because I didn't want to be a freak, right? Yeah. And so, they knew who I was when I was in the hallway. And I remember me, pitching him, and I started to like crack a little bit. Like I started to get emotional, because you've seen me on stage and that happens to me. And I was like, and I'm playing in corners, and like, I need this. And you say all the hungry hustlers, if you go for it and you fight, that you're going to win. And I'm willing to die to win, Uncle G. I'm ready, man. Like, I'm like cracking. Mm-hmm. Like it's all coming out.
Wow.
And I remember he kind of like looked over at Elaine, and she was like, you tell this guy no. That look, if you're married, that look.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, you got the deal, the Jingle Man. And we shook on it, and there was no contract. There was no money. All I wanted was the opportunity to step up there and give my 10 minutes. That's all I wanted. So you guys got to remember that, like, when you have an opportunity, the opportunity is the reward, not the money or anything like that. The opportunity that you earned is the reward, nothing else. 100%. I think people get lost that. Like, so what, did you make $1 million when you played the gig? And I made no dollars. I spent money to go there, to meet everyone backstage, and to play my 10 minutes. The 10 minutes was the reward for the work.
Yeah, 100%. I think people's perspectives are too messed up nowadays, where everyone wants to make money right away from little work. And it's not the case. It's like, if you understand when you put so much time, so much effort in, that just getting a chance to be where you wanted to be, chance, is awesome. And it's one of the best things ever. Totally. So, dude, that's awesome. So once you had that 10 minutes, well, first off, how did that, like, what did you do in the 10 minutes? Like, what was that?
I went up there. It's interesting that you ask that, because it's actually the beginning of the pivot that I needed to make to become what I wanted to be, which is like the entertainment guy at all the business events. Like, I had been performing for free at quite a few entrepreneur business meetups and real estate meetups. And I noticed that there was this like lack of like oomph on the intros, and like the transitions were bad, and like there were no DJs. And it was just like something just felt off. And someone who's been in production like I have for like the Elton Johns and the Madonnas and stuff, like those transitions are so seamless between songs and between outfits and between artists, and DJs come out and play and get the crowd going. And it was not there in the business event space. And I'm like, this is literally wide open for me. And that's why I knew when he posted that, I'm like, if I can get on this guy's event, it's going to put me over with everybody, because everything else is smaller than 10X. 10X is the biggest one. This was the second one where they had 10,000 people at Mandalay Bay. So anyway, so I went up there and I told the whole story like I told you today. I only had 10 minutes, so I couldn't ramble like I have today. But I was like, listen, I mean, I was essentially homeless, living in my van, played for years and years and years. 34 years old now, and I've been doing this since I was 20, playing in college at the bars. And, I told people over 10 years ago, right up the street in Las Vegas, that I'd be playing Mandalay Bay sold out one day. And, here I am today doing it, and I always put everybody over. I'm like, give it up for Grant Cardone, making dreams come to life. And everybody's like, fuck yeah. And I like went, and so then I just sang my tunes about overcoming obstacles and told a couple stories. And I came off the stage, and this was why I'm so glad that you asked me this, because I remember he was busy. So I stay out of people's way at events, because I know how high stress it is. hey, thank you so much, blah, blah, blah. And we shook hands. He's like, hey, man, you killed it, bro. You killed those little spin moves. That was good. That was good. And then I met this dude, Brad Lee. Brad, wow. I think that you were at the event that Brad spoke at Ryan Pineda's Sahara Mastermind, right?
Yes, I was.
Yeah. So Brad and I met. This was 2018, February. And I was like, yo, dude, did you see the performance? He was like, indeed. And I'm like, so what'd you think, man? How do I become a big baller speaker like you? He's like, you want the truth, dog? And I'm like, yeah. Like, I had no idea how sarcastic Brad Lee was because we had never met. I'm like, yeah, give it to me. He's like, well, you went up there, you told this heartwarming story of being homeless and getting off the drugs and alcohol, and you're sober now and you're chasing your dreams. You had my wallet out of my pants ready to buy, and you sold me nothing. I'm like, what? What do you mean, dude? Blah, blah. I wrecked that place. You know what I mean? Because I'm thinking from the perspective, and here's entrepreneur world, I'm thinking of if I just outperform everybody, I'll make millions of dollars. So now don't get caught in, now I'm going to go back on some stuff I said. Don't get too caught up in being such a great performer that you don't have anything to sell, that you don't know how to sell anything, that you don't know how to make an offer or have like a funnel or a solution. I didn't have any of that. I was just the song guy. And I was like, okay, well, what should I sell people? He goes, I don't know. What do you do? I'm like, well, I can make advertisements and voiceovers and song ads and this and that. I'm great at social media. He's like, you're great at social media. How much does it cost for you to do my social media? And I'm like, he's like, dude, this is your problem. Let's figure it out. What can you do for my social? And literally like the next 15 minutes were him just slapping me around backstage on how do you make an offer? You need a funnel. You need a page. You need you saying, I took my game from the corner of the bar to the biggest business events and I can help you. You need this and that and the other thing. You need a package. What do they get for 30 days of service with Pat Hilton? How much does it cost? Do you have any VAs? I'm like, what's a VA? You need all these things. And I'm like, holy smokes. So I went back home and I literally quit playing at bars like a month later and made Acoustic Force Media's website with a VSL and a voiceover and all the stuff. It made packages. And now I MC Brad's events as
wow.
MC. And the last thing that he told me to do when I called him, and I was like, hey, so what else do I need to do? I got everything built. I just texted you the link. He's never not taken my phone calls, by the way. And he goes, cool. He goes, the last thing that you need to do is quit spinning around on stage with that guitar like a dipshit. And I was like, what? I'm like, I wreck places, bro. I wreck places. He goes, dude, but that's your problem. You're focused so much on entertaining everyone that you're not coming off as an authority. You're not coming off as an expert. You're coming off as Pat the Jack Black goofball that just wants to be everyone's friend, not that wants to be integrated into everyone's team. Oh my God, this guy's pretty good, huh? So I'm like, okay, well, what does that look like? He goes, you need to switch it up and become the host of the event. And so you can still do all your funny clap chants and all your funny, hey, everybody yells, hey, and 1, 2, 3, all that kind of crap is great. But you need to come from the perspective of a professional that is a CEO, that is an authority that works with the best people in the industry, and that is a social media CEO and producer, not just the bar entertainer. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay. And then I saw him like a couple months later, and I'm like at an event, and I like kind of like still did the guitar out in the hallway and then like would make announcements. And he was like, all right, so this time when you introduce me, I want you to tell the story of when I told you to quit doing all that stuff on stage. And I also want you to tell people that you used to drink and smoke a bunch of weed and that now you're sober on before you introduce. I'm like, am I really going to say, I'm going to
like, why would I say that?
Page? He's like, yeah, I want you to push yourself today. Let's see what you got, dog. I'm like, oh, dude, I had never talked about that before. It's nobody. In my opinion, it's like nobody's business. And I'm like, yeah. So when I met Brad, I was still singing in bars and I was making $100 a night. And, I was drinking a lot of booze and I was smoking a bunch of weed. And, I had so many bad habits. And again, like I'm an emotional, like artistic type. So I started to crack a little. And, I'm sober now. And I'm like starting to cry. And people are like, yeah, let's go. Because this is the lesson. People will root for you if you get vulnerable. There's power in vulnerability. And I'm like, dude, blah, blah, blah. And this dude helped me change my life. He's the closer that closes the closers, and he was like, went up there and like later came out and was after the event and was like, dude, that's the best intro I've ever seen you do. Like I had never seen a room get that loud. And I was like, interesting. It's the storytelling that I didn't realize was like a superpower. And I've been telling stories in between songs since I was a kid. Because, dude, you got to waste time. You can't sing the whole time. You're just telling stories. So it's important for everyone to remember. You got to tell your story. There's power in vulnerability. Your struggles and your weaknesses are actually superpowers if you turn them around, but you got to be willing to put the work in and identify the things that you need to work on, fix them. And then that was also the day that I still wasn't making very much money. I had like holes in my New Balances and like shitty jeans and like the sport coat that I got married in. And he was like, dude, you got to get a new sport coat. You got to get some shoes that look a little nicer and this and that. You got to take some pride in yourself, dude. You want to be the Bruce Buffer of business events. You got to show up and look like a dog. And so, and so I did that. I did everything Brad has ever told me to do. And, we went from doing $5,000 to $7,000 a month in 2021 to, $70,000 a month.
That's awesome.
I went from my license was suspended for 3.5 years for some stuff that I did that was stupid in California. And I got my license back last year in March and I drive the Porsche Taycan that Ryan told me to buy.
Nice.
And it was a 100% bonus depreciation write-off.
There we go. Dude, I love that. And it seems like you actually pointed out two different pivots. I'm going to go back to the Cardone event because you pointed out two different pivots that happened at the same time. One was this is a true entrepreneur trait. You identified a need. You said, look, I've been in performance in the performing arts for a while. I've entertained. These business events suck. all the hosts, all the MCs.
Huge fasts.
And I know exactly what you're talking about because I've been to other events where you're not the MC or the host. And I'm like, dude, this is boring. Like, what kind of transition, what kind of introduction or transition is this?
Tough.
So so that's the moment it sounds like where you became the Pat Hilton that I know. The energy. Well, you probably always had the energy, but the host. And also, just by being and getting that opportunity, you also ran into Brad Lea. And it sounds like another pivot was a pivot from going from, look, let me outwork everyone, let me work really hard, to let me work a little bit smarter now and make money with what I'm doing. And that's something that I've honestly went through really recently, really just talking to Ryan and going to the team as far as my first thoughts on social media is like, let me just work really hard, build the audience. And I still am. I'm still going to do that.
Yeah, I mean, there's no lack of hard work in any of these guys' stuff, but it's channeling that work.
Yes, 100%. Because it shifted from, let me just get the eyeballs that I'm still trying to get to how can I serve the audience currently while monetizing and like benefiting myself and becoming a real business person. And that was the transition, being around the right people. So that was your transition. It's crazy that there are two pivots like that at the same time. And another thing that I love is that everything that you've gotten advice from Brad Lea, you've actually done. And I could not be more happy for you, man.
Yeah,
but
like I said, it's just now I host his events. I'm the MC for Brad's Closer School events. And, I introduced him at Ryan's event. And I remember walking down the hallway and being like, oh, the old BL's in the building.
Yeah.
And he looks over at Ryan. He's like, you're going to the big times when you got old Pat Hilton on the microphone. Like people like that, guys, you might see him on the internet and think, oh, this guy's a swindler. He's not for me or whatever. Those same people that are a little tough to crack will always go to bat for you if you're willing to be honest and do the work. The other thing, and I don't know if it was too stupid or too inexperienced to even realize that I was this way, but when you go around a guy like a Brad Lee or a Grant Cardone or a Ryan Pineda and you want to show them how big you are or how rich you are or how much better than everyone else you are, I think that's a huge turnoff. Anybody who's a big shark in the ocean knows who's a big shark and knows who isn't. And so you can't fool people that have a ton of experience, that have made money, that have successful businesses. You're better off just being you and being honest and asking the right questions and telling them where you are and where you want to go. People cannot help you if you try and fudge your actual results. I was like, dude, I'm drinking in California. My license is suspended. I got this going on. I got that going on. I got this. I got to figure this out now, man. I built the whole funnel. I built this. I built that. I built the other thing. What else do I need to do? And he's like, you need to become the host. Ditch the guitar. The guitar played its role, and now it's just getting you in trouble in the wrong environments. Ditch it and move on. And once I started going with a full digital business, that was when things started to take off. That was when I started to make money. That event, I think the one I met you at, the first Future Flipper event I ever did, was the weekend that I closed on my first house. And
wow.
I was 39 years old, and it's a personal residence. And so if you guys ever want to look at an example of 20 years of hard work to have it pay off, I'm willing to be that example for you. Only because I don't want it to take you this long. There are way too many tools, way too many resources, way too many people that you have access to now that it just wasn't that way in 2005 or 6 or 13 or even 15. The second that I saw that these channels could connect me to people, within a 5-year time span, everything happened for me. Yeah. That 5 years should start for all of your audience today watching this show.
100%.
You watching this show, you should be in the same position as me or off in the clouds somewhere else.
Yeah, I always tell people, man, like, you should expect or be prepared for it to take a long time. But don't be surprised if you are actually putting the work for it to take faster.
Telling you.
And it's crazy. I absolutely love your story, man. And before we, kind of wrap up, I wanted to ask two things. The first one is just, where can people find more about you and what are you looking for? This is your chance to pitch whatever you want to pitch. How can people help you?
I mean, listen, my goal, I only have so much time, right? We all only have so much time on the planet. Time is kind of like the enemy, right? Because we can't get it back. You can't buy it. You kind of can, but you can't get it back. And so I spent my entire life doing what I love and pursuing my passion ruthlessly to show people that it is worth sticking it out, and that if you're willing to get good enough and put in enough time, you can literally make it with doing your childhood dream as a living. All I ever wanted to do is record videos and play songs and perform on stages and get paid for it. And I met the right people at the right time that showed me how to take those skills and channel it into a business model and a marketplace solution. And this whole social media thing is in demand, and it is not going away. And I don't care if you hire Jimmy Bob or Billy Bob or Ryan or Brian or Steve or Mitch or Ron, I'm going to have plenty of business because our people get results and we're good at it. And so if you need help with social media, I'm launching my own program, The Iconic Messengers, where it's a training system. I have a book coming out called The Force Inside that should be out here in the next 30 to 40 days. First time I've ever even told anyone about that. And you can find me on Instagram and stuff. My goal is not to convert you to a client. It is to convert you to a powerful force of good on this planet. And so I encourage you to get noisy, get loud, and get what you want out of life.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to read that book, actually. You kind of already just touched on it, but I like to finish all my episodes with, if you have one message to share. It doesn't have to be business, it doesn't have to be whatever, but if you had a message to share to anyone in the world, what's the overarching message you have? You said get loud and all this, but is there something else that you really care about?
I would say that everyone has something that they would do if everything else disappeared. Like if you didn't have to pay car insurance and rent and food and alcohol or, well, you know, I mean, I've been there, done that. If you didn't have to pay for anything that you needed to do whatever it is that you love to do, what would that thing be? Number one. And why aren't you doing it? Because I think a lot of people are like, oh man, I wish I could swim every day. I love swimming. And it's like, well, why don't you do it? Oh, I don't know. I got my job and I got my kids and I got the dog and I got a husband. And it's like, tell them you need to go swimming for 45 minutes. Even if it's not something that you turn into a career, there's something that you love to do. And I would encourage you to find time and make time and do that thing that you love more than anything every single day, and potentially get so good at it that you could become the leading marketplace provider of that thing and create a solution that helps other people with that thing. I can assure you that Steve Jobs is very passionate and loved computers and using technology to give people an experience. And that's why he was so good with Apple. So what is that for you? Is it swim lessons? Is it a swim instructor? Or is it swimming?
Are you asking me personally?
Right. What about you? Well, what is it for you? Is it real estate, or is real estate a vehicle so that you could do something else? I mean, with that, you're putting two and two together. Put you on the spot. Like, what is that for you?
Yeah, no, for me, actually, it's similar. When you asked that question, I was kind of happy because I was like, you know what? I'm doing a lot of what I want to do. It's really, I want to take care of myself. I love working out. I just love fitness, doing the active things, hanging my girlfriend, family. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, wow, I'm doing this stuff. It's so simple, so stupidly simple. But even I thought of, do I want to travel more? I'm like, no, not really. A lot of people have this thing oh, I want to do these, but I really just love what I'm doing now. And the moments that I don't do them, if a couple days go by, I don't feel as happy.
See?
So yeah, I think that was spot on.
I think it's important for people to identify certain things that they love and to make sure that there is time every single day, not just once a week, every day, to try and do something that revolves around you getting that release from those things. And I would say that even in my days where I was I'm clearly a recovering addict, if you guys haven't picked up on it from the show here today. Okay. So let's just say what it is. I sat around and smoked and drank all day. I would get up and work out and sit and smoke and practice for 10, 12 hours a day until my fingers had divots in them, and then go and play at the bar. But I was always doing work and working on what I wanted to become, despite the fact that I had some bad habits. Right? So I would encourage you guys to identify what are those things you love. Maybe you love animals. Well, I can't make any money with animals or whatever. So then just because you can't make any money doing it, you just don't do it at all. And you throw this love for animals out the window. You deserve better than that. So I think that a lot of people associate success with money. Now there's, again, money and cars and houses and my kids going to the cool school. I mean, dude, trust me. It's dope, guys. Get it all. But if you really love something, you are willing to die to be the best at it and to be remembered as one of the greatest in that category.
Yeah, I agree.
So
and dude,
you owe it to yourself to chase whatever that is.
100%. Well, dude, Pat, I love that message. I loved your story. That's the first time I've actually officially heard it in total. So thank you for even coming on. I really appreciate you, man. And hopefully you had a good time too, but I know that people will get a lot of value out of this. Like Pat said, if you want to reach out to him, reach out on Instagram. And if you need help with social media, he's the man. So, or if you, I don't know if like how actively you're marketing your events or hosting events, but he can do it all. So
I'll come out and speak too. You know, I mean, a lot of people have been like, can you just come speak? It's like, yeah, hit me up. Let's work something out.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being on, man.
Thanks,
and
appreciate
that
you
was
guys.
That was Pat Hilton. Hope you guys enjoyed. Peace.